Hey guys, welcome back to week 2 of the 52-week project. This week I am in Hong Kong, which is really exciting because this is the first photo shoot that I've organised through an agency in Hong Kong. So yeah, super exciting for me to have done that this week. There's been a few instances this week where things have not gone specifically as planned. So I originally had another photo shoot organised for today, but then things got a little bit difficult and one of the models pulled out and we had to rearrange things, and now to cut things short, it looks like I'm shooting 2 models this week. So I might be doing the 2 photo shoots for my 52-week project this week, which is really good so I can stay on top of things. So I did have an idea for today, but that could be moved to tomorrow at this stage. So I did something completely different today. And I didn't have a lot of time. This was all very last minute and pretty much organised this morning. So I will talk about this a little bit in the vlog that I'm going to put in the video, but basically I just had the model style herself and do makeup and hair for herself as well. And it was just going to be a really natural shoot, but I'm going to show you guys the vlog now and hopefully you enjoy it. Good morning guys. Today I am in Hong Kong, so I'm really excited to announce that my week 2 of the 52-week project will be photographed in Hong Kong today. The weather is not really holding up at the moment. It is cold, it's miserable and raining. So I think the forecast is meant to get better over the next couple of days, and I do have another potential shoot coming up for my 3rd week this week. So I'm getting sort of 2 done at once in the same week, which definitely helps me out since I'm very time poor on this trip at the moment. So yeah, I'm really excited. I've organised a photo shoot through an agency here in Hong Kong, and it was very last minute, this particular one, because I was focusing on organising the next one for this week. But we managed to get another model available early in the week. So this one's just going to be a really raw, natural shoot. I am trying to get away at the moment from editing too much, and I really need to take a step back from doing that, especially with skin editing, and getting more of a raw take on my images. I need to figure out a way to do this that suits my style of photography as well, and I think that hopefully this shoot is going to help me do that. So I've just asked the model to bring along some really basic street style clothing, and we're just going to shoot around some of the streets. Even if it is raining, I'm sort of like not too worried about the weather today. It doesn't really bother me because I don't have a huge set in stone concept for this shoot. I just want to see how the streets work with a really raw shoot. The streets here in Bangkok are awesome. They're just so cool and really grungy, so I'm really excited to do a shoot this afternoon here. I've also asked the model to do some really natural raw makeup. I don't have a makeup artist, I don't have a hairstylist for this shoot. It was all very last minute, and she's styling as well. So everything's kind of being left up to the model and myself today, and we're going to see what we can come up with. I do this a lot with photo shoots because sometimes it's just not always possible to organize, especially last minute shoots. When you really want to experiment and do things and keep producing work, it's really hard to always get a team on board. Of course, it always helps if you do have a team on board, but I feel like sometimes just to take a good set of photos, you don't always need a huge team to do that. And I think as well, for me traveling, it's sometimes just easier for me to organize a shoot with a model and know that it's only just going to be her that I'm worried about organization with and not 5 other people. So yeah, I'm hoping that today's shoot goes really well. It's exciting. It's my first shoot through an agency in Hong Kong, so that was pretty exciting. I am contemplating contacting an agency for next week in Vietnam to get another shoot done, but we'll see how we go with that. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time there or whether they're going to reply in time, so we'll see. I'm trying to be organized and I'm trying to be good with time management this time around. I've also organized the shoot to be at 4:30 p.m, which is kind of, because it's winter over here at the moment, the sun I think is setting around 5:36, and it should be good because I wanted to do a couple of shoots, and I think I'll organize the other shoot this week for that time as well if it goes ahead. Because I really want the lights to be coming on around the city, but I also want there to be enough natural light for me to shoot in as well. So I'm going to see how that goes this afternoon, and if it goes well, then I'll hopefully organise the next shoot for around that time too. So we're just going to be taking some shots up here in the hotel room because the window light is just really beautiful at the moment, and there's a lot of it coming into the room. So we should be able to do most of the shots I think up here, maybe do a couple just downstairs before Mary Jane leaves. Beautiful.
you want something like serious or something?
Yeah, I think something really moody, a little bit. Yeah, I'm trying to do something quite raw. So if you know, if you can feel as comfortable as possible, like in your posing. Great posing, actually. And just tilting up again, just starting to beautiful. Great. And then looking towards it. And just lower it just slightly.
Maybe safe.
Yeah, perfect. Look towards the camera, like if you can look really sultry kind of with your expression. Yes. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Just kind of like look out this way. Hope you really enjoyed the vlog, guys. So to talk about what's happened today and what happened with the mood of the shoot that I was going for, I didn't actually have a mood board for this shoot because it was so last minute with the agency. It was all very quickly put together. I just wanted to focus on something raw and natural, and it was pretty much going to be the easiest type of shoot for me to do. So what I did was I just asked the model to bring some street style clothing along and to just come with really natural makeup. So the model was Mary Jane, and she was really great today. So the really good thing about her was that she had a lot of her own ideas, so I could really bounce off those and try some new things. So what happened was that I originally wanted it to be a raw and natural shoot, but because she was really good with her ideas and she was really fast thinking, really good with her own styling and makeup and hair, that was pretty much all done by her, what happened was it kind of turned into a bit of a different shoot, which I was okay with because I feel like sometimes I'm too much in my comfort zone, and I think in the end I managed to get some pretty edgy photos out of today's shoot. And I think that's what I was trying to think outside the box and experiment with as well. So for a start, a lot of the photos were going to be taken outside, but then I thought about taking some inside as well because we've got a really big window, as you can see behind us, and the lighting earlier in the day was quite good coming through the window and would have made for some good shots. So by the time we did start shooting at 5 PM, it was starting to get a bit darker. We didn't have as much light, as much natural light, so I ended up having to experiment with artificial lighting, and that was just not hugely available in this room, unfortunately. There's only a couple of lamps around and we didn't have any lighting from above, so it wasn't anything really strong that we could use, but it kind of worked to our advantage as well because it wasn't overpowering. It was still quite a natural feel to the lighting, I think, within the shoot, which was kind of good, but it was still kind of pushing me outside of my comfort zone and allowing me to experiment with different lights in the room to get different effects within the photographs. So I do have to say though, with my downfall for this week, and something that I do need to improve on, is being more aware of the lighting. It's not something that I do a lot of the time, doing indoor shoots and shoots with just window light. So I feel like that was a bit difficult for me today, but also it was coming down to a bit of time management. Once again, I wasn't keeping track of time, and I really need to get on top of that because the light went so quickly. And before we knew it, we were having to use the lamps, and it was kind of turning into a different shoot to what I'd originally looked at. And especially with the clothing that we had for the first look, it was very different to the following looks after that. So it was sort of a different flow. It didn't really have a lot of flow from the first image to the last image. But I will say that although that was my downfall again this week, I feel like the positive from this shoot and the thing that I did well was the fact that I did experiment and I did try something new with this shoot, and I feel like I got edgier photos, which I don't always do on my photo shoots. I think a lot of my photos are very soft and very pretty, but they don't always have that edginess to them, which I'm after. And I think that did happen today, and that was partly due to the fact that the model was willing to try new things, and it sort of did become, instead of a raw and natural shoot, it became something that was a little bit more styled and a little bit edgier, which was cool. I don't always expect that from shoots where the model has to organise everything herself. You don't always have to expect models to be makeup artists, hairstylists and stylists all in one person, so that's why I usually do tend to go for something raw and natural if that's what the model's going to be doing for herself. So yeah, today she was able to bring out something that looked quite edgy and styled, and I was really impressed with that. The thing that sort of turned it around as well was having her put on red lipstick straight off the bat, and then it didn't come off. So we kind of had to stick with that red lipstick theme and I guess go into something that was a little bit softer to something that was not so soft. So I think overall this week it was good because I did get to experiment with some different lighting setups and some different poses and just a different feel for a shoot. I think it was very different this week to what I usually do within my shoots. And I think also getting to go outside at the end of the shoot and do those shots through the markets of Hong Kong is something that I really love doing. I thought that was amazing to go and take a few shots down there, and I think it really added to the shoot. It was a really cool vibe, I think, towards the end especially. That was initially the idea that I have for my next photo shoot. It's part of the idea I had, so I do want to experiment more with the markets and using those as a backdrop, because we weren't really out there for that long in the markets. It was probably only about 10 to 15 minutes or so shooting, because we'd done the bulk of the images up here in the room. So I think for the next time I do, hopefully my next photo shoot here in Hong Kong, I hope to experiment a little bit more outside and with outdoor backdrops. I'm just going to add in the final shots from the shoot now and go through what I think I've done well with them and what I could probably improve on, and some of my favourites as well.
So I'm just going to go through my photos that I finished editing from this set. There is about 15 of them, so I'm going to quickly run through each of the photos and just talk about what I like in the photos and what I don't like as much. And then I'm going to narrow it down to my top 5 and then my number 1 for this week. So this is the first photo I'm going to show you guys from the shoot, and it was earlier on when we were using the window light, the natural light. So I really like this shot. It's quite moody. It's very soft and pretty and very much, I think, within my style. So if I was going to pick a photo for my top 5 this week based on the fact that that it fit in with my style and that I liked the photo and I thought it was pretty, this photo would go in there. But this week it's not going in my top 5 because I just feel like there's not enough interest within the photograph, and I think it's just too similar to a lot of my other work, and I am looking at really branching out with the 52-week project. So this week it's not in my top 5, but I do like the photo. This is the second photo I'm going to show you guys. Now, I really like this photo as well, and I love her expression. I love Mary Jane's expression and the lighting in the shot as well. I just think it's really soft and pretty, and I think it goes in with the theme that I originally sort of had in mind. However, I just feel like, once again, this is probably a typical shot that I would choose generally for a photo that I do like, and I don't think I'm going to have this in my top 5 this week because I just think it's too similar to my other work. So I'm going to move on to the next shot now. And this photo is going to be in my top 5 this week. I think it's just a little bit more interesting than the other 2 shots that I just showed you guys. And I think it involves the fact that I used artificial lighting for this shot, which I don't use all the time. And I think her expression is interesting. I like the flare that's kind of coming off the belt. I think it's coming off the belt. I didn't actually notice there was a flare in the shot until I got it on my computer and saw it then. But I actually kind of like it. I think it sort of adds to the shot a bit more. I just think it's a really kind of romantic looking shot, and I think that's going to be in my top 5 this week. I just really like the shot. This is another photo that I really like, and I think as a fashion shot goes, it's probably up there, but compared to the last shot, I just feel like her expression was a little bit more there for me, and the pose in this shot as opposed to here. I do like this shot, but I think it's just lacking in those areas. This photo is definitely in my top 5 this week, and it's funny because this is the second week in a row that I've chosen a black and white photo, and I've chose to put a photo into black and white, so that doesn't happen very often. As I said in my last video for the 52-week project, I am very much a color person and I don't do a lot of black and whites, but I feel like for this photograph, it just has a really film noir effect, and I really love the way that the shadows are falling on her face, which is not something I necessarily liked when it was in color. I think once I turned it into black and white, it just made it look a little bit more interesting, and the shadows on her face look a little bit more intentional, I guess. But yeah, I do really like this photo in black and white, and it is in my top 5 this week. This photo I really liked. However, in comparison to the previous photo, I just feel like I liked that other photo better, and they're quite similar photos in a sense. I do like the composition of this photo though, and I do like the fact that it does have a bit more of a fashion edge. I just feel like there's a couple of things in this shot that don't really do it for me, and I think it's the lighting is a little bit flat in this shot, and the tones just didn't quite get there, and also the fact that I think I just preferred the expression in this photo as opposed to this one, but I still like the shot overall. I think it's a good fashion image and a little bit different to some of my stuff that I've done previously, which is good, but I just think that this one was probably a little bit of a better choice. This is another shot that I really liked from this week. There's a lot of shots actually this week that I was pretty happy with. Unfortunately, there's not a huge amount of flow with all of the shots, so they do kind of have a bit of a different look when you look at all the photos lined in a row. So this one's really interesting for me because it's not something that I would usually do. It's not in my top 5 this week because there's a few other photos that I really did just prefer as opposed to this one, but I think it's an interesting shot. I think her hand probably looks a little bit awkward in this shot, and I could have picked up on that when I was trying to pose her, so that was probably my fault. But also I think the lighting's just not as moody as opposed to these photographs either, so I think it's a good shot, but not in my top 5. This shot for me is definitely in my top 5 this week. I really, really wanted a shot like this from the time I got into Hong Kong. This is what I wanted. I wanted to have the markets and the street life in the background. I just really wanted those colors to pop, and I would have loved to have done even more of this in Hong Kong, and I really hope to in future. But yeah, this is definitely a shot that I liked. I like her pose. I like her styling. Mary Jane did a really good job on her styling this week. And yeah, I really like it. I think it's an interesting shot, and I don't tend to choose a lot of full body images, but I was really happy to actually get a full body shot out of this week's shoot that I really liked and I can use in my portfolio. So I'm really happy with this one. This shot is not in my top 5, but I really do like the shot and I like the angle of it. It's a little bit different. I still like the vibe of the shoot with the styling and the backdrop. In comparison to this photo though, it's not my favorite. Still really like it though. Now, some of you guys might disagree with me on this photo, but this is in my top 5. I really loved this shot, and I think it's just down to a few points for me. The fact that she's just looking over her shoulder, and I like the composition of the shot. I like the fact that the jacket is kind of in movement as she swung it over her shoulder. And I just really like it. I really like the shot. I don't know why I've picked this one out of a few of the others, but I think for me, it's just it's a decent fashion shot, and I really like that. I like her expression as well. And I do like the pose. It's just kind of a bit interesting. So yeah, that is in my top 5. You guys might disagree with me on this, but once again, this is all down to personal preference. This photograph's not in my top 5, but I really like the backdrop. The only thing that's really just not doing it for me with this photo and for the next photo I'm going to show you guys is the fact that the tones just didn't come out the way that I wanted them to, but I think it still kind of has an interesting Hong Kong kind of feel to it. So I think it's a good shot, but I think the next one is a little bit more interesting. I think this is a nice fashion shot, but the next shot is the final image in my top 5, and some of you guys might think this is a weird shot or it's just not really a fashion shot, but I kind of feel like it is, and I think in some editorials you would see photographs like this that are a little bit more quirky and different, and this is why I've chosen this shot. There are things in this photo that don't really do it for me. I mean, it is a little bit overexposed in parts and the coloring is not quite there. They're probably pushed to the limits with saturation. But I do love the model's pose. I love the fact that she's doing something quirky, and it was just like a really cool vibe for that shot, and that's why I like it, and that's the next photo in my top 5. Yeah, once again, you guys might disagree, but I'm really happy with how these shots turned out this week. So guys, for week 2, this image is my favorite. This is the photo I've narrowed it down to, and it was pretty close between a couple of the market shots, but I just really think that this one was great because maybe it's not as different compared to my previous work, but the fact that I've done a full body shot, I'm really proud of, something that I can use in my portfolio. And I just love the backdrop of the photo and the styling, and it's the photo that I wanted coming to Hong Kong. So I'm really glad to have achieved that and to have gotten that photo, and I think that's why I'm so happy with it overall. I'm going to be posting all top 5 photos at the end of this video, so you can check them out there, and also going to be posting them on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Flickr.
And that's it for this week, guys. So that is week 2 done and dusted again, and I am really excited for week 3 shoot, which is hopefully happening tomorrow still, but we'll see how we go with that. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're interested in following the journey with the 52-week project, please follow me on Instagram and join a couple of the groups that we have going for Facebook and Flickr, and I've linked them down below in the description box. So feel free to go and join them if you're doing the 52-week project and you want to share your images, or even if you just want to follow everyone else's photography. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!